Another day in the workshop, and something fairly major has changed with the MX-5's 2.5 litre Volvo Penta boat engine. Something that, well, I should have done long ago. It's much more me, and to be honest, the main reason is I think it's much more suited to the engine overall spec at least, and that is removing the Garrett GT35 82R with the little 63 turbine housing and fitting a Holset HX35 with a twin scroll T3 16cm housing. Basically, you know, some people will be like, oh my god, that's massive, but no. In reality, HX35 has got a very tiny bit smaller turbine wheel and a very tiny bit smaller compressor wheel than a GT35, but this has got a much higher flowing housing, and that was the problem really with that GT35. And while yeah, of course I could fit a bigger housing to the GT35, I like Holsets. I prefer Holsets. They're way better value for money. They're fucking bulletproof. They're easy upgradable, and they spool amazingly fast. I mean, this is a 2.5 litre. I know for a fact from experience of plenty of other engines that a 2.5 with that exact same spec turbo, normal single scroll manifold, just set up decently, and they're at full boost at like between 3,200 and 3,500 RPM. In fact, just before I was filming this, somebody said about their Mercedes engine, 2.3 4-cylinder Mercedes, that they've got a Holset HE351 on, which is HX35 turbine side, and it's not a 9cm HE351 like on some later Dodge Rams. This is the other version, which is basically a 35-40 hybrid. So 35 turbine side. I think they've got a 14cm twin scroll turbine housing, but a much bigger 40 size compressor wheel, and even they're at full boost at like 3,000, I think it said 3,200 RPM on a 2.3. So spool wise, and you know, I know plenty of people who's ran GT35s with 63 housings on RBs and JZs and stuff, and yeah, their full boost is about 3,500 or so. So pretty much what this will do anyway. So it's not like I'm giving up any spool. But my main concern always was these things don't flow great, especially the exhaust. And I'm trying to counteract that with a ridiculously leery cam. I mean, it's like over 300 degrees. It's like, unless you're normally at really high RPM, that would be quite overkill. But with only 4 cylinders and not very good exhaust port flow, and it being a 2.5 8 valve, so with only 4 exhaust valves, I wanted all the camshaft I could get to get it all out. So the cam is suited to the engine, you know, and suited to the sort of power band. Unlike, you know, if you put that cam in a really high flowing engine or a small capacity engine, that cam would be all at the top. But on a 2.5 with poor exhaust ports and whatever, not so much. But that little 63 housing was kind of the odd one out. It could get out the ports at last thanks to the cam. The manifold's okay, especially now I've ported the hell out of it like you'd have seen in previous videos, so it could get out of that. But then it went to that little tiny housing, and the more cam you've got, the more big deal having low pre-turbine back pressure is. You know, a big cam and lots of back pressure from a small turbine housing is bad. They literally fight against each other. It'd be the worst of both worlds. You end up losing bottom end spool but also losing top end power. You know, you can't have your cake and eat it with engines. It has to all work in harmony, in unison, whatever you want to call it. So, you know, your turbo needs to, you know, suit your cam and everything, and this does. Unfortunately, the Garrett didn't really. So, well, basically, yesterday, Compressor Racing posted up with having a load of new HX35s in stock, because the last lot sold out because, well, you know how 35s seem to sell. And that was kind of icing on the cake. I couldn't resist. And, well, there it is. It pretty much fits the standard manifold, but because of the link pipe that Thomas wanted to make, which makes it a lot easier to run an external wastegate, we will mount the turbo slightly forward, maybe slightly up, and then the wastegate off there, which obviously suits everything perfectly. In an ideal world, I didn't want that, because the less complication and parts the better, but I am literally talking about a couple of inches, you know. So job done, very easy job. Some, you know, Thomas said he'd prefer anyway. And yeah, it is what it is. That's the turbine side, looking pretty badass. I think these look awesome. I mean, there's no getting away from that. It looks cool as fuck. And yeah, I think this setup will work. I mean, generally, a lot of the Scandinavians with these engines, they've got a thing, you know, they understand how these work and how to make them, you know, reliable and powerful. And they've kind of got a thing where back pressure, pre-turbine back pressure, should be no more than about, I think they say 1.2 or 1.25 times boost pressure, which is what this sort of setup would. But a typical, you know, typical turbo engine with a small turbo housing like a 63, you're usually talking like way over double the back pressure to boost pressure, and that doesn't work with a big cam. And it's not just for performance, but it's shit for reliability. Like, the more back pressure you got, the more likely you are to, you know, have detonation, and it's more heat and more everything. And you know, it's part of the reason people struggle with, you know, running decent amounts of boost on pump fuel and stuff, needing race fuel, otherwise it dets, because there's too much pre-turbine back pressure. Simple as that. I mean, again, you probably work out, if you're like fucking Sherlock Holmes, when I've recorded this, because I watched a video I think it was last night, at PFI Speed put up, where they was dynoing a Prelude, Honda Prelude with a turbo on it. And I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of their cars, they run, there was Chinese GT35s in them, which are, you know, they're good turbos, and they do run them with like a 82 turbine housing, which is bigger than, obviously a lot bigger than the 63 one. So, you know, better than what I had on this, despite smaller capacity. But on this car, they had a big Borg-Warner S300, I think it was, with a proper meaty turbine housing. And even they say in the video, I mean, it makes amazing power for the boost, and it spools great, and it's everything. And even they say in the video, like Brent, who's mapping it, says it's not about the compressor side, it's all about that big turbine side. It's, you know, low pre-turbine back pressure, you know, the exhaust gas can get out, and that thing makes incredible power for what it was. Absolutely amazing. Which is what it's all about for me. What goes in has got to come out. I don't know if, again, I'm not, it's kind of related actually, but a few days ago on the Stav-Tech website, I put a link in here or the description or somewhere, I don't know if you've ever even seen it, but I put a dyno comparison of a load of FDRX7s on the dyno, same mapper, just lots of different, 8 different 500 plus horsepower FDRX7s. And the one car with the most, I would say by far the most expensive turbo, was an EFR 9174, I think. So it's about 2,500 quid's worth of turbo. Performed pretty much the worst out of all of them, and everyone else was running anything from normal Borg-Warner S series to Holset HX50 to old HKS T51 SPL. You know, these turbos which are technically 20 years old when they were first made. But, you know, turbo technology don't move on like people think. It's having about the right size. And the problem with that 9174, which is, you know, the case of anything, a turbine side, it was by far the smallest. It was the 74mm turbine wheel, which is pretty small. And I bet I had a small turbine AR as well, because that just, it's a UK thing. Everybody seems to go for the smallest. And on a rotary, that just doesn't work. You need the exhaust flow. It's all about the exhaust flow on a rotary. Anybody can make boost. You need to get it out again. You know? So that car, it did all right at very low RPM. But then, soon as anything, even that was getting in the power band, they were all of a similar level. And then higher up, that thing made pretty average power. Well, worse than pretty much everybody. So yeah, it did nothing. It was literally at the bottom of the list in almost every way. And it, even though it was technically the best turbo, it was the wrong turbo. If you're aiming for that, just, well, not even the wrong turbo, the wrong turbine side. The compressor side was fucking plenty. And that's the same with the GT35. That GT35 has got 200 brakes more compressor than I probably need for the power goals of this, same as this have. A GT35 can do 600, some people push them a tiny bit more. HX35 seem to go to 600 pushed, but it's not about that, it's about this side. And this little diddy one, unfortunately, wouldn't have done it, even though, if I remember right, that turbine wheels is like 2mm bigger exducer than this one. But it's not about the turbine wheel size as such, it's about the whole package, and that's the housing. So yeah, and everybody knows me, it's Holsets. I like Holsets. I get on with them best. They last the best, they're cheap, they're reliable, and they spool amazing, and they make, you know, I just love them, and that's more me. Do you know what I mean? Things, it's the same as people going, oh wait, you're in a 16 valve head, because I like the 8 valves better. Simple as that. What, I don't need the extra complication and price of a 16 valve when everything, there's no advantage. And it's the same with this. That's actually fancier and it's more expensive, but it won't gain me anything. It'll actually lose me something. So this is the one I'm doing. Elsewhere, as you can probably see, the MX-5's there looking alright, considering it's got no front end. All the front stuff's there. I'm going to be cleaning that up in a bit. Thomas's race car is sitting here doing race carry things. He was measuring it earlier because he really actually wants, he's like me, he sees these Volvo red blocks and sort of loves the power and the compactness and the lightness and whatever of these, and he really wants to use one. And again, he don't really fancy doing a 16 valve. He sees no advantage to that, and he was actually measuring it to see if it would go in here, and yeah, of course it will. It goes to about there. But if you've ever seen the old videos or pictures of this, the engine used to be a mid-mounted SR20 where it was pretty much all under the dash with a modified bulkhead, and he measured it again if the bulkhead was, you know, redone to how it used to be, and literally the front of the turbo would be, no, the front of the engine, sorry, would be under here. It'd be pretty much invisible. You'd probably have the turbo and whatever out here somewhere just to allow, you know, a custom manifold, but the actual engine would probably be invisible under there, which is pretty badass. Helps it's so narrow so you can do that. And the MR2's here, of course. Thomas has put up a load of videos now of the full build of this, but yeah, 1.9 TDI, equal flow plenum, good sized turbo, rear mount intercooler, which was a front mount from an RX-7, but fits lovely. Straight for exhaust, fancy Zarowski Motorsport clamps. These are them amazing flexible ones that you know, kind of like Wiggins clamps type things, but his own ones. And yeah, awesome. And obviously it's 606 Renault Traffic, and here he is now. Go on.
So we're talking about turbo size. Do you think a beautiful Chinese GT30 would be too big for this as a compound?
As a compound? Oh no, God no, no. That's probably about right.
Obviously I was bored because I was welding that manifold there, and my head was like, like why would not?
Yeah, Chinese GT30 is probably about on the money, because people seem, when they compound these, they seem to use they use about 35 size, so that's a bit smaller, so that's almost a sensible compound. Oh fuck yeah, there you go.
Probably won't be there, slightly lower. It's like,
but yeah,
there because I can't fit it now because we've got pipes in it. But
yeah. So twin compound 1.9 TDI Mark III MR2. I mean, there's tons of room. It's amazing how much room there is.
Yeah, it's literally...
That is, it's asking to be compounded, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually, we said it all the day, but now I'm really thinking about it. It's like, okay, I don't have a fuel for it because I need a big injectors and all that stuff, but this literally be like...
Yeah. And that's kind of like the OEM Borg Warner stuff, where they're literally almost right next to each other, you know?
I will have to redesign, obviously, the plane. I mean,
yeah, a little bit, but, you know?
Or even somewhere...
Yeah. And obviously, that to there, that to there, and the rest is the same. Exhaust just needs a slight link pipe. Yeah, fucking good times. That actually looks like it would be ridiculously simple.
Obviously, I would have to... It should be the exhaust manifold, like good.
Oh yeah, you may. Yeah, I suppose if you're going this far, you may as well go a tubular rather than the stock one.
And then prioritize the gate to bypass the gases into this.
Yes.
You know, because.
Yeah, you're gonna need a lot of. Yeah, you don't want back pressures. You need a lot of bypass of the thing. But yeah, I keep forgetting this is it at the back. You've got tons of room because it's a front-mounted radiator.
Yeah.
So,
nothing here.
Yeah. It's not like the T2 where it's got a rear-mounted radiator. It's literally, you've got all that space.
Yeah. They're not really...
No, I mean, they're not, you know, GT30s are compact, and these Chinese GT30s are pretty decent. Lots of people run them.
What I've seen is like they can handle loads of goods.
Yeah.
Some people doing like 4 bar.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's a good thing, see? Like, because of how compounding works, you'll have 4 bar at the engine, but neither turbo will be pushing anywhere near that, so they'll both be they'll both still be happy.
Obviously, you need the injectors. No fuel for that, but still, you know, that would be. I'm thinking this is like really simple.
Yeah, if this was a 1.9 TDI in a front engine, it would be a nightmare because it's been done, but it's really complicated and packed. But yeah. But when you've got literally, I mean, you could fucking smuggle refugees in there. There's so much room. Do you know what I mean?
Probably, yeah.
There's literally, a child, you know, not even like not a baby. I mean, like, you know, like, man, I bet George's kid could get in there, and he would just for fun because he's a little bugger. So like, probably. Yeah, I bet you a kid of about 10 could climb in there from underneath. So yeah, there's plenty of room for a GT30. So, that's a really cool idea. Don't do it yet, though. No. Get this running mapped first.
Because apparently you can push it to 250 to 60. So I want to run as it is, make sure everything is right, you know.
Yeah.
The handles are right, and the shaft they hold, and all that stuff. No problems with the gearboxes. And then...
See how you feel. Right? This is going to be fucking bananas as it is, but... Because
obviously... It's a balance, right? Because it's a daily driving, so you have to keep the balance between the quick spool, so the easy the way you drive, and the maximum power. The maximum power obviously comes from the big boost delivers from the big turbos, but then you lose the low down. But with compound, especially in this case,
best of both worlds, yeah.
That turbo is not turning. VNT, once you open the VNT again, there's no back pressure, but then again you prioritize the wastegate to put the pressure on this. You have both of the worlds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those two were hybridized. You can get them 25, 68. That's what people push them. You know, from 2060, from 22 to 60 to 25, 68, and all that stuff. But that's very expensive.
It's expensive, and I bet you the back pressure's through the roof.
Back pressure is through the roof, and then if you break it, you're crying.
Yes.
Again, we're back in the same game.
Yeah.
Why, in this case, you may have similar results, but you're on your standard turbo. If you break it, cartridge, 100 quid. You run it from this, you won't break this one.
No chance. It's a low pressure one anyway. You're going to break it. Yeah.
100 quid.
100 quid. Yeah.
Anyway, you know what I mean? So.
And I think that compound of these, I'm certain would outperform an expensive hybridized version of that, just because there's so much more turbine flow. Even ignoring the compressor side of things, because you're bypassing that. Yeah.
Removing the restriction on the exhaust on that.
Yeah.
So it just makes more power because. Exhaust EGT is sky high on these.
Yeah.
Like over 900.
That's what made me wonder. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
1,000 degrees. Like, whoa, that's way too high. Because they're only like this sort of turbos with over 3 bar pressure.
Yeah. And the heat is from the back pressure and stuff as well, isn't it? So, yeah.
And it's not. But then obviously, again, when you got a huge tractor turbo, then yeah, it's good, but they are running drag cars. So it's users for the daily. It's just on the top, which is missing the point on a daily car. But in this case, this could be could be good. I think it's worth experimenting. But then sooner or later, one is like one more time is I want to do the exhaust manifold. But then I don't want to waste that time. You know what I mean? So what exactly you want was the final goal, and then do the exhaust manifold for that. Yeah,
well that's the thing. I don't think it would have been worth the time and trouble on that turbo, because that manifold's not too bad. But compounding, oh fuck yes. Yeah, agreed.
So about the pressure and the chuffing noises.
Oh god, it makes some crazy ass noises with 2 turbos playing. Yeah, I was going to say it sounds great on your other video, so I'll put a link to all that in. Well, I think I'll probably run out of tags in the video, so I'll have to put it in the description, because I think you could only add a few. But yeah, quite a lot of room at the front. Look, you could add like, well, you could smuggle some more people in the front now as well. So it works out really well. So yeah, well, you've said everything now. Do you know what? I've been jabbering on now for 28 minutes. I could save this and just post this as a video right now. Thank you and good night. No. In reality, I'm sure I cut some of this so you won't see all of this crap. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I was going to show you this. So, this is the turbo that was on there, which I don't really believe is, the more I think about it, the most suitable. It's a great turbo. I mean, it's a late spec GT35 too, so it's the anti-surge one, because early ones didn't have that, and these things suffer from compressor surge. And again, they suffer from compressor surge because they've got a big compressor and not enough fucking turbine flow. But anyway, yeah, good turbo, you know, ball bearing core, which is, you know, just a sort of a nice bonus, but it doesn't truly like make things spool fast or anything. You know, good spec turbine wheel. You know, use your stuff. Even the housing itself, it's a nice design. It's just not right for this. If this was 2 litre, which it originally was going to be, because don't forget, when I got this car had a 2 litre in it, and this was fucking perfect. Because, you know, 2 litre is not good at spooling up turbos. But with half a litre more, different story. You know, we're talking, well, that's 25% extra capacity. So technically, it would spool up 25% faster now. So, but that only works if you've got the right sort of size turbo. You get diminishing gains. So once your turbo's a bit too small for the capacity, the spool you gain gets a lot less, and obviously what you miss out up top gets a lot more. It's a fucking balancing act with turbos. I hope you sort of understand what I mean, because I understand what I mean in my head, but it's a complicated subject. But yeah, these are good turbos. I mean, even the design of the turbine housing, I like it. For the small size, it's going to flow well, it'll be efficient, but it's just still not enough. Something interesting I thought I'd show you as well is that's a Garrett GT series turbine housing. This is a Chinese version of a Garrett T series turbine housing, like GT35 size 1, T35 size 1. This is a Holset HX35 size 1. So HX40s as well. And if you look, did you know the actual mounting thing, the sort of the mounting dimensions for the core, again, this is a Chinese Garrett T3, T35, whatever you want to call it, 1. This is a Chinese, I think, Holset one. This, exactly the same for all turbos. Don't know why. And KKK with the K26s and I think 27s, same as well. You can literally put any of the cores into any of the housings and they will literally fit and bolt up. But, and this is where it's a shame really, doesn't mean they'll actually all work together, because they don't, because of a few things. First thing, GT housings and GT and T housings and whatever aren't the same, because if you look at the heat shield back plate on the turbine, GT ones are really short. T ones are that size. So obviously, while this will fit in, that will make the turbine wheel too far in comparison to this. I mean, I will use some really rubbish form of measurement using this. That goes from the base of there to, say, the top of the turbine wheel. At most it's to the M, the bottom M on the 13mm here, right? If we did this, it's a bit further up. Not much, 2-3 mil, but that's all it is. It's just that is the difference. So if you try to fit that in a GT housing, it would hit the back, it just wouldn't work. And conversely, while this fits in a T housing, which I'll show you now, look, you could put it in a Garrett T series housing. Well, technically you can't because this wheel's too big, but it wouldn't, if the wheel wasn't there, it just wouldn't go far enough in, so that the wheel would be a little bit too far back. And it's much the same with Holset stuff. Like, Holset stuff's this bit here, although it's the same dimensions, and the back plate is about the same as T series. So look, a Holset core will sit no problem in a T or GT series housing. Because that's slightly thicker, this is a T series, and even though everything else is about the same, it will put it in slightly the wrong place. So while, you know, you could monkey about with it with a lathe and stuff without too much trouble to get it all to fit, you know, and that's why you do see these aftermarket housings for sale for Holsets and stuff that are like single scroll 63 housings that just blatantly look like normal Garrett ones. Reason is they're just slightly modified ones, because they are damn close. I mean, there's a setup for Porsche 944 turbos that I think Tim's Turbos in America sells, and it's basically HX35s that bolt straight onto the standard position on a Porsche 944 turbo. And the reason is 944 turbos use K26 turbos as standard, so you can pretty much bolt the bloody core of a Holset straight to a K26 turbo housing. I think the wheel difference size is 5 mil, so he obviously takes 5 mil out the extruder diameter in there with the lathe, and there you go, there's your bolt-on turbo solution. I've fucking no idea why all these different companies who are rivals have this exact same dimensions, but they do, because none of it exactly fits, but for some reason they all use the same dimensions. It's weird. Maybe it's some secret Illuminati thing where, like, in reality they pretend to be enemies, but they're all really the one person. They're all really good friends. This is how they create business. They fake competition. Like a certain seller of Chinese eBay parts in the UK who owns about 90% of the eBay shops and stuff selling these parts, all under different names, all looking like they're rivals, but they're all actually him. I'm not saying who that is, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you know who that is. Fair play to him, it's good business. But yeah, random turbo trivia for you. And yeah, it's interesting, and it does make me want to sort of do some experiments and see what I can make fit, but they are all so close, it's ridiculous. But I might have doing a bit of an experiment for a later video where I get some more, because this is just parts I'd lying around. Go and dig up some of my other spares and do some measuring and work out what really will fit. But that's for another day. And for now, that's it. I think maybe I will do the suspension next, but I've been jabbering on for so long, this might make a whole video on its own, so we will see. That's the other 2.5, by the way, and that's all that, my other crap. But yeah, that's enough for this bit, so I'm going to stop. But if you don't see any more for this video, I'll say cheers, and make sure you subscribe and all that kind of crap, because I've got loads more to come. Because, well, all of the stuff you've seen now isn't quite finished, but we're dead close. And again, Thomas is now working on his own car again, because he really wants it going. You know? Yeah. It's like everything's a fine line between doing a proper job to make money and, oh, love cars too much, let's play our own stuff. So, yeah. So, yeah, if you don't see any more to this video, make sure you subscribe and like and comment, because the rest of it will be on the next one.